Brian, the draws this weekend, are you like the rest of us? Have you given toe to the best and the worst scenarios for us?
Not very deeply, but I'd be aware that, from the manager's point of view, he would probably like to avoid some of the really big hitters like Spain, Italy, France. Maybe we wouldn't be too upset about England. Our Pot A, I would imagine the best options are probably Poland and Switzerland, even though they'd be decent sides, but they're teams that we would usually give a good match to. Neither Mick nor myself had great experiences for Switzerland in the past, which he had a bit of a laugh about that the other day. But and then out of Pot B, you'd like to avoid Germany, obviously. And there are a few other difficult teams in there, Bosnia and Herzegovina. But I think there are also teams you wouldn't mind getting, somebody like Iceland, who are struggling at the moment, but earned their place in the higher rankings with their qualification, the World Cup winning the group. But other than that, I haven't looked at it too deeply. It's unlikely you're going to end up with two very good teams from the first two pots. There are all sorts of restrictions on who can get who, because you can't play more than one other host country, let's say, which narrows it down a little bit, and it's a good thing. And then there are also geographical issues that you don't have to travel too far more than once, I think. And there are obviously political issues between certain countries too, but that doesn't affect us now, thank God. But so, it's always interesting to see the draw. I think what's relevant now is that the pots and the seedings are more based on more recent form than they previously were. I think a lot of countries didn't realise the implications of the Nations League, even though they may have only had 4 games. Some countries had 6. I don't think it was explained to a lot of managers the implications of not winning some of the games and the outcome. I think some countries realised a little bit too late when they'd lost the first match or the second match that, God, we could be in trouble here. This can affect our future ranking. And so, in some ways it's a good thing that the rankings are based more on recent form rather than the process where it used to be an assessment of your form over 5 years.
I think one person that knows the consequences of losing in the Nations League is Martin O'Neill. So obviously Mick is in the job now. We kind of, a lot of people expected Mick to get the job. I think it was clear that he wanted it. Are you surprised that he's agreed to take it on what is kind of a short-term basis, really?
A little bit surprised, knowing Mick's personality, but if you look at it from his point of view, if you look at it from the FIA's point of view, which I said previously, it looks like they're looking at Mick saying, well, we think you'll be good for 2 years, but we're not going to give you any longer. And Stephen Kenny will be a good manager maybe in 2 years' time to take over from you. That is rather strange thinking, bizarre. I've described it previously. I still think it's bizarre. But from Mick's point of view, he is going to earn a very, very substantial salary for maybe being involved in only 10 games. And that had to be attractive to him. I know that some people would say, well, what does the international manager do? It's a fairly handy number. You don't have matches too often. It's not like running the club team. You're training nearly every day and dealing with agents and players. There's an element of that about international football, but you can make yourself busy. There's plenty to be done if you want to do it. If you want to be right on top of the job and invest your time and energy into what's happening under the senior international team. So I think Mick's approach will be like that, and he'll be busy, but he won't be nearly as busy as he would have been had he taken another job in club football. So I think it's a very attractive position. He's Irish, he's played in the national team, he was a great captain, he was a very good player, and he did a very good job as manager. He in 3 qualifications, I think they finished second in the group each time, and it wasn't so easy to qualify as it is now. Now it's 24, it's nearly a place for everyone in the audience now. So, you know, I think they've got a great chance, irrespective of how the draw goes. You still get another chance, even if you don't finish in the top two. So, you know, it sounds like a fairly handy process. I wish I had been a bit like that when I was in it.
You mentioned the underage setup. That seems to be Stephen's remit. But, like, he won't have a full campaign with the 21s. And I know he's been given an advisory role or some role overseeing the rest of the underage national teams. But that's not continuing when he's senior manager. So to me it doesn't, while it seems like a broad role for him and an important role, I'm not really sure that he has enough time to make an impact on it. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know the details of the whole arrangement. I mean, Stephen, I would know a long time. I would have seen him playing as a schoolboy player in Belvedere, down in Fairview Park, and I signed him for Pats as well, and I had him there for a couple of years. And I watched his development as a coach and as a manager quite closely, because usually that's the case when one of your players goes into coaching, particularly when he went into it so young. But, you know, I'd be in touch with Stephen on an occasional basis. I admired what he's done in the Dog. I don't know the details of this. It does look all a bit confusing. I think what he will find, I know he is the most basic requirement for anyone to do a job at any level is you've got to have energy and enthusiasm and a will to get stuck into it. And he's no doubt about that he has that desire. He also has courage, and he's enlightened thinking. He's a free thinker. So he will want to try and impose something. But, you know, reality is Stephen's only experience of international football was when he was in Israel with me a good few years ago with Noel O'Reilly. We brought Stephen with us to a competition in Israel. It wasn't a European competition. It was an annual competition that we used to go to. But he, other than that, I mean, he would be obviously studying international football, but directly involved. It's different from club football. It's different from having your players for weeks at a time and making your mind up on them and deciding on the tactics and the lineup and how you're going to go about it. International football is, even with the underage teams, it can be a bit slap bang wallop. You've got to make decisions in advance, get the players in that you think are going to be good enough, work with them for quite short periods in advance of the game. The clubs own them, you only get loan of them. You have to be very careful about risking them playing with injuries or anything like that. You've got to get them back to the clubs if there's any question marks, and you've got to put out a team. And you're usually playing against opposition that are very well prepared, that have the best coaches that are available in that country, obviously the best players that are playing. So it's not so easy to win matches.
Yeah.
And you know, I've no doubt Stephen will get stuck in. Whether he'll be able to achieve many of the things that are in his head when he actually gets working or not is another matter, because there's so many aspects to the job. You've got to go and scout the players, chase up all sorts of leads about players that might be eligible for us, that maybe weren't born in Ireland, didn't play the schoolboy football here. Keep in touch with clubs and academy managers, and maybe even agents come into the picture with the younger players nowadays. It wasn't the case previously. And then you've got to track the opposition, what they're at. You've got to go to conferences. You've got to do a bit on the coaching education side within the association. And you've got to live life as well. And it's busy. It can be busy, or also can be a bit more laid back if you want to do it that way. Yeah. And there'll be very little criticism or notice taken. But knowing Stephen, he'll want to get stuck in. How his under-21 campaign goes and the problems in there, we'll just have to wait and see, and maybe hope that it all goes smoothly. But it's a rather amazing combination of structures, let's say, that they have put in place at this time, but it may well work.
Yeah. You gave Stephen his chance in 2000. If he was to return the favour and was interested in bringing you on board in his backroom team or anything like that, would you be interested?
Would I be interested? Well, look at, you know, I had a good spell with Liam Toohey and Noel O'Reilly back in the early 80s. I had 5 years working in a voluntary capacity with the FAI with the underage teams, very successfully, has to be said. Under Toohey's regime, we qualified for 3 European finals and the World Cup. We actually got to the semi-final in the USSR, as it was then, at that time. And then I had 9 years going on, 9.5 years with the FAI in all the various roles that I did. And it was a great time, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you know, Stephen has spoken about the honour, and he's spoken about it emotionally. It was just as emotional for me. Every day I worked, every day I woke up as a manager in whatever team I had at the time. It was a great day, and a day of great responsibility. So of course I would seriously consider any role to work with the international teams if that ever occurred again. But it just seems most unlikely, because I haven't had any contact from the FAI or the people who make decisions in the FAI since 2005. Funnily enough, at the time I was appointed senior manager, one of the most eminent people involved in the FAI at the time said to me, "Will you make me one promise?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "When you finish doing this job as senior manager, won't you promise me you'll come back and do the job you were doing previously?" I need to say, while it might have been in my head that was a possibility again, it never happened. It was never brought up again.
Is that prominent member of the association still around?
No, actually. You know, so I think Stephen will do his work, and he'll gather his people. I mean, there's already a lot of people there doing jobs. I don't see Stephen having a situation where he's going to be able to bring in a lot of people to work on with the under-21s. There are other staff there. There were people working with Noel King. There were, you know, Harry McHugh had been with Noel King for a long time. Miles Kelly had been there, and he had Cudicini as a goalkeeping coach at one stage too. But you know, I don't think there'll be a lot of vacancies there. I think people that are probably already working around the association, or people Stephen has worked with at club level.
Does it piss you off that you never got that?
No. I've thoroughly enjoyed the things I've done since then. I enjoyed my time in the Faroes. It was great. It was a tempting challenge, and it was difficult. It wasn't a deep pool of players, but they were great people, and it was marvellous to get some good results there. I considered it a high point of my career in coaching and managing that we achieved a couple of wins and a couple of good draws too. But on the work I did at St. Pat's since then, I enjoyed that. We enjoyed helping kind of rebuild the club and the structures again with Gareth Callagher and John McDonnell, and I've absolutely enjoyed what I do in the media work that I do. You know, it's going to games and trying to watch them closely, maybe trying to explain them to people in an entertaining way is nice for me to do, rather than just go to them and watch them in a kind of forensic way for my own interest because I'm coaching or managing, and go to them now and enjoy them a bit more. But I'm still going to lots and lots of football that don't have a media profile either, and I go and see plenty of League of Ireland games, underage games when I can too. So it's fine. It's all good. And life is good.
Good stuff. Robbie Keane is among this new management team. Richard Dunn was saying in today's paper in today's Herald, I think it was, that he's a bit underappreciated or underrated. Would you agree?
Well, Richard is viewing that from a point of view. He would have been one of Robbie's pals, the TMA, you know, going back to even our underage team, but back to Cyprus in '98. Richard and Robbie were part of that team, and you know they live close to each other, and maybe he feels that Robbie's career was underrated. I don't think Irish people do in general. I mean, you know, his record of 68 goals is extraordinary. I don't think we'll see the likes of it again in my lifetime anyway. I think Niall Quinn is the nearest to him on 19.
Yeah.
And Niall took a while to get to 19. John Aldrich, Frank Stapleton, around those numbers too. But they took a long time and long careers. Robbie's 68 is extraordinary. So, and what he did at club level, I think like he scored over 325 goals. He was almost a goal every 2 matches. Apart from the time in America, which I would have said the level wasn't comparable to the levels he had played at previously, you would say he's played at a high level and he was a consistent scorer at a high level. So his career was brilliant. I think Irish people appreciate now that, you know, we don't have anyone comparable to him, and we haven't had since his latter days when the goals kind of dried up a little bit, even going back to, say, you know, France 2016, that period from 2012, 2016, it was, he wasn't, let's say, as hot as he was in the previous years, but he lasted a long time. You think he played in the international team from when he was 17, 18. It was a long time to keep going, and he did a great job.
Yeah, as Martin O'Neill has often pointed out, we don't have that kind of figure in the senior team at the moment. Possibly the most exciting player coming up is Troy Parrott. We saw him score for Tottenham against Inter during the week in the Youth League. Look, we don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I'd love to get your opinion of what type of player he is, how he's progressing, and where you see his career going. Well,
I have to say that I haven't, you know, I don't know him that well. I saw some of the games last year in the European, the under-17 finals, when, you know, we got knocked out by Netherlands in the quarter-final on the penalty kicks, and he looked impressive in that game. Unfortunately, the team was pinned back for a lot of the match and didn't come out of their own half too often. But when we conceded the goal and the pressure was on to come and have a go, then I thought we saw what he could do. I know he's doing quite well at Spurs, but it's a huge step nowadays to get from where he is playing at under 23 level at Spurs to become a first team player, even a first team squad player. You look at Harry Winks making that breakthrough now. He's 21. And you're saying, you know, he's there, he's just about made it, but he's probably the only one that's come out of the academy system in Spurs in the last 5 or 6 or 7, and maybe since Harry Kane, who's become almost a first team regular. It's very, very difficult, and that's at a club where the manager likes to give young players a chance. I mean, he's played the young Argentinian centre-back fight this year, but he's been forced into playing because Alderweireld and Davinson Sanchez have been injured, so he's got a chance in there. But he's, you know, player brought in from Argentina. So there's it's very difficult for Irish young players nowadays to get a chance at the Premier League level. Their progress is very hard to predict too. But he looks a talented player. He should progress through the 19s and the 21s. Sometimes if they're really talented, they can skip the 21s. And Mick did that in the past when he was manager first time round. Some of the players didn't go through the 21s. The likes of Robbie and Damien and Richard, I think, didn't really play at 21 level at all. They went straight through. So you know, let's see how it goes with young Parrott.
Last question. You mentioned Robbie and Damien. Both are now going into coaching. Robbie with Ireland. It looks like Damien's going to go to Celtic. Kerr's kids, if I can call them that, are growing up. Does it make you kind of proud to see them go into coaching?
Yeah, some of the teams I had at St Patrick's Athletic going back, many of the players ended up as managers in the League of Ireland. I used to go, God, did we have an impact? Did I have some influence on the way fellas might go on and coach? Fellas like Pat Fenlon and John McDonald, Eddie Gormley, now Paul Ozam as a role with the international team under 16, and many others tried it as well. And now I see it with the international players. It's nice to see them having a go. I think some of them will be very talented. Damien has obviously got a go for it, and he's done his bit in Rovers, and I think he is going to go to Celtic in the new year, which would be a big challenge for him. But he's a lovely communication skill, Damien, great passion for the game, and very clear ideals of how he wants players to go and what they've got to do to make it. No better man to demonstrate how to do it, and you know, if anyone's going to do demonstrations on dribbling or beating men and entertaining no better boy than Damien to do it. He still has that swagger about him when he gets the ball at his feet.
I think Joe Duffy called it Damien Duff dizziness or something like that at that thing at Phoenix Park. Come here, we could chat all day, but I'll let you go. Thanks so much.
Thanks, pleasure, Alan.